California breaks the record for most anti-gun bills signed in the day, and everyone's already suing. Let's go ahead and talk about it. What's up, Wolverines? Happy Tuesday to everyone out there. My name is John Crump. I'm an investigative journalist, and this is John Crump News, where we discuss 2A every day. If you could, go ahead and sub to the channel. It really helps with engagement, and engagement is key to the algorithm, and you can help boost my signal. Before we get started, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. Gideon Optics makes some of the best optics at an affordable price. So why spend money on an optic where you can get a cheaper optic that is just as good? Go ahead and check out Gideon Optics, and for a limited time, you can use code CRUMPY and get 10% off and free shipping on all orders. Okay, we're back. We're going to go over all the laws that were signed today, and the sensitive places one is already being challenged by GOA and also FPC in different lawsuits. Reno May is a part of the GOA suit, along with the armed scholar himself. FPC just filed today. A lot of what the lawsuits claim are redundant, so I'm not going to go over each lawsuit because you've probably heard the argument many times, and I'm sure Reno May and Anthony over at Armed Scholar, they're going to go over everything as well. So I just want to read you guys the list of bills that Gavin Newsom, the guy that wants to take away your rights by enacting a new constitutional amendment, actually signed today, which is just a slew of them. The list that I have, I stole from 2A Updates, Rob Romano on Twitter, so go give him a follow. He has a lot of good information that he always puts out. He put together a list. I was going to put together a list, but he already put one together, so I am going to use that list. So these are the laws that the governor signed today. AB 28, which is a excise tax on ammunition and firearms. Basically, it doubles the amount of tax that people have to pay to buy ammunition and firearms, and there's supposed to be no direct tax on a right, and this looks like it is, but then there's already a 11% tax on ammo anyway, which is in guns, which is just ridiculous. The AB 92, which is a prohibition on body armor. Yes, they don't want you to be able to defend yourself from people shooting at you. I wonder why. There's AB 97, which bans unserialized firearms, so-called ghost guns, unfinished frames, and receivers. That is there. Then there is AB 301, which is gun violence restraining orders, basically ERPOs, but for body armor. So you can't have body armor if you have an ERPO against you. So it's a red flag law, but for body armor. It's kind of ridiculous. Then there's AB 355, which expands the ban on assault weapons. It changes the definition, so even more guns would be considered assault weapons under the California law. I'm telling you, there's a lot here. Then there's AB 455, which is prohibited persons, firearms prohibited persons. It expands the definition of a prohibited person to include more people. And then there's AB 574, which is dealer records of sales. Basically, it changes the records that dealers have to keep and share with the state and whatever. So it actually helps them create a gun database more easily. Then there's AB 724, and that deals with safety certificates for instructional materials. What this is trying to do is make it more expensive to get a concealed carry permit, which will prevent people from getting a concealed carry permit. It is a slap in the face of the Bruin decision. AB 725, which is a doozy as well, that changed the reporting requirements for lost or stolen firearms. Basically, you have less of a time to report them stolen or lost, and if they are used in a crime and you don't report them stolen or lost, it increases the penalty. AB 732 deals with the relinquishment of firearms. It tells you exactly who has to relinquish firearms, and it expands that quite a bit. AB 762 is the Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program. What this is to set up a slush fund to give taxpayers money from the state of California to anti-gun groups such as Brady, Everytown, Giffords, and basically no pro-gun groups are going to get these grants at all. I can guarantee you that. AB 818 deals with protective orders, basically bans firearms for people with protective orders, and it is an expansion of red flag laws. Then there is AB 1089, which prohibits anyone from using a CNC machine unless you are a federally licensed manufacturer, and you cannot make any more than 3 firearms per year unless you are a manufacturer. And also, it requires anyone that uses a 3-dimensional printer to be a state licensed manufacturer. It also prohibits the sale, possession, or receipt of a CNC milling machine that sole or primary focus is making a firearm. Basically, what they are talking about is the ghost gunner there. AB 1406 increases the waiting period to 10 days. Now we have AB 1420. Now, this bill does a couple interesting things. It authorizes California to do inspections and assess fines for violations of their laws by firearm stores. It also regulates the sale of secondhand firearms, and there's other technical changes in there. But it would also require the Firearms Department in California to make available to anyone, upon request, information concerning any type of violations of firearms dealers. As we know, we have seen Brady teach classes of how to get around the PLCAA, and this is one of the tactics that they use. They look up violations, and then they claim gross negligence by the firearms store. So basically, that is what this is going to do. There's another thing that is very interesting, and it also requires that the dealer keep the purchaser's address and telephone number. It would also require, after September 1st, 2025, for the dealership to record the person's email address. Which, why would you want to do that? Maybe search social media records to try to disqualify them by claiming that they are not a safe person? I'm not really sure, but pretty sure that probably has something to do with it. We have AB 1483, and we're not done yet, folks. There's always more. The current law in California says you're only allowed to purchase 1 handgun per 30-day period from a firearms dealer. There has always been an exception for privately held firearms. This law removes that exception. So if you buy a handgun from a dealer, you cannot buy a privately owned handgun for another 30 days, which is total BS to me. There's AB 1587, which is financial transactions. Basically, it requires gun stores to use those merchant category codes. Remember the ones that they said weren't a big deal? Yeah, they're a big deal now. AB 1598 is firearm safety education. Once again, this makes it harder to get a concealed carry permit because of the required training. SB2, now this is the big one. This is the one that copies the CCIA and expands sensitive areas, making most of the state a gun-free zone. And I say gun-free zone with quotation marks because that is what it is. It should be in quotation marks because there's no such thing as a gun-free zone. Criminals will always carry. This is the law that GOA is challenging with Reno May and Anthony from Armed Scholar, along with Gun Owners of California. Chuck Pichel is representing them. He's a really, really good lawyer. So we'll see where that goes. Firearms Policy Coalition just filed their challenge today against SB 2. So we'll see where that goes. Then we have SB 241, which is new firearms dealer requirements. FFL and their employees will be required to go through firearms training once a year. So that adds a huge burden to FFLs throughout the state. SB 368, and I'm almost done here, folks. Sorry about that. This also changes some requirements for licensed dealers. This law does a couple different things. One is not too bad until you hear the caveat, and the other one is just BS. The first thing it would do is require gun stores to offer storage for people in crisis. Basically, if you have a mental crisis, they have to store the firearms for you. Sort of like what Hold My Guns does, but not voluntary, which I have a problem with. Also, it prevents the people from getting any type of reimbursement for storage fees. They cannot take payment for storage at all, which is just BS. And it also makes illegal gun raffles unless it's for a nonprofit. So any type of raffle or lottery that gives away a gun, you cannot do in California anymore, even if it's not totally by chance. If chance plays a major role in it, then you can't do it. SB 417 changes the wording on the signs that gun stores are required to display. I would go through all the wording, but it's a doozy and it's very, very long, and there has to be at least 1-inch letters, which is insane because it's going to be like a full poster size sign that they had to display in the gun store. And finally, we come to the final bill that was signed today, and this is SB 452, which has to do with everyone's favorite thing, micro stamping. Now, before you all yell at me that micro stamping doesn't exist, you're correct. It doesn't exist. And the California handgun roster was in a little bit of hot water in the courts because of that requirement. They had to remove it, and there's an injunction against it. But this will state that on January 1st, 2028, all pistols must be equipped with micro stamping if it is available. I think they put in the final language so they can avoid being sued over it, but I think they're still going to get sued over it. Also, if micro stamping is possible and you buy a micro stamping enabled pistol, you cannot go ahead and remove the micro stamping. It would be just like removing a serial number, but at the state level in California only. So there you go. There's all the bills that were signed today. Like I said, FPC's already sued, GOA, GOC, GOF has already sued as well. Reno May has sued. Armed Scholar has sued. Chuck Michelle is a great attorney. He's representing the GOA guys. So I have full confidence in Chuck and his ability to litigate. I know him personally, and he's just a really good guy. All right, guys, that is it. We are out of here for today. If you would like to see a greater breakdown of these bills, because there's a lot here, I just gave you the 1,000-foot view because there is a lot. We could do like a 4 or 5 hour podcast just breaking down each of these laws individually. But I don't know if it'd be worth it or not because most of you guys are not from California, but it is a good view as to what will be coming around the country, because once California does something totally anti-gun, the rest of the anti-gun states follow. All right, guys, you can still support PAC 997 down below. If you're a company and you want to help support PAC 997, go right ahead. I would definitely appreciate it. PAC 997 is my kids' Cub Scout unit, and they could really, really use your help. The link is down below in the description. I know it's e-begging, but hey, you got to do what you got to do if you're a father, right? and also a den leader. All right, guys, that is it. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free. Give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. If not, give me a thumbs down. It's all engagement to me. And remember, Wolverine's mother...